Knowing how to blend drum samples is a tool every mixer should have in their arsenal. And in this clip, Buster shows you what he looks for when blending samples and shows you how filters and phase and all the little details are important to pay attention to. Enjoy.
We have a more dynamic kick, and we have a one-shot. And I said last time that it was a one-shot in the Oceano, but I realized that it wasn't. But this is a one-shot. The one-shot sounds like this. It's just like a super satisfying, processed kind of deal. And this is more like a more dynamic sound. So those combined, usually you get the best of both worlds. You get the consistency of the one shot, and you get the dynamics and kind of the expression for like a more real sounding kick, which is cool. And what I did last time is filter both kicks at the same frequency, which I will do now. But this time I would probably go lower than I did for the Oceano, like 35 hertz. Let's start there, see what happens. I'm gonna move that over to the one shot as well. So this is not in phase. Still not in phase. Hold on. We maybe need to use the Sound Radix auto line thing here.
Quick question from Joao Vitor, which is, what is usually the volume ratio between the real kick and the one shot?
It's a good question. I just kind of tinker with it till I think it sounds good. But it's usually pretty obvious when the one shot is too loud, because you can hear on the fast parts, you'll hear like that static clicky sound. I don't want to hear that. I want the main kick, like the real sounding kick, to be dominant, basically.
Mm-hmm. You know what you're listening for.
Yeah. So now I'm gonna check the phase here and just kind of slide the one shot around. Oh, I'm gonna find another part with a bunch of kicks. Maybe I'm gonna try something here. Maybe they are in phase without the filter, actually. What I'm doing here is I'm soloing them separately to see if I'm losing something when I combine them. That's a good way of checking if they're in phase or not, because if you're losing a certain frequency when combining two sounds, it's not in phase. You want them all to line up so that all frequencies are audible. This is weird, because that's not in phase here. Let's slide that around. I might have to use trigger to get that in phase, but I'll try here. Because I think this is about how I triggered the sound. In trigger, you can set what frequencies it's supposed to react to, and when you include too much bass, it'll trigger in a weird way when the main kick is changing velocity, because the low end will be in a different place depending on how hard of a hit it is. So I'm actually going to remove this and put this as the same sample as a trigger insert instead, because then I can have more control over the frequency it's triggering off of. So let's see. I always forget, where is it in this one? Yeah. I'm going to show you what I mean here. That's the same sample. So this is what I'm talking about. The low cut and high cut feature here. If you're including too much low end in what it's triggering off, it's going to be way harder to get that in phase. And this is usually how I do it. I just bounce this down for whatever reason to show you, but this is kind of how I do it. Also, let's make this not dynamic at all. So that's this knob here. Okay, there we go. So I just flipped the phase, make sure it triggered off of, 200 or 300 hertz and up. This is of course harder to do when you have a real kick to sample off, but you can. What I do, like, automated the detail knob here, this knob. So when it's like hard clear hits, it's here, but when it's like super fast, this just goes down on those parts. It takes a lot of time to automate, but that's what you have to do. So now you can hear on these fast kicks, you only hear like the trigger. So I'm just gonna set that. Maybe let's make it a bit more dynamic so there's some difference in when it plays fast and when it plays slow. So the reason I do this, you'll hear the difference here. So if I wouldn't have like a one shot, it would sound like this. And in a huge mix like this, it's pretty hard to get that to cut through. So this is a constant kick sound that punches through equally all the time. So let's start there and do some compression. And I'm starting with the compression here, and I will probably EQ after. Oh shit, that was the wrong one. And I will probably EQ when I hear what the compression does. This is just a multiband. When it plays fast, it takes care of some of the low end. It seems to be doing its job. The thing is, I really like how the kick sounds already, but I might have to remove some low mids, but let's just wait with that. I will have to add some high end. I could add it here or here. It kind of depends, because if I add the high end here, the trigger will also get brighter, but this is pretty clicky as it is. So the high end I'm adding would be better to do before, so I can get the high end from the more real sounding kick sample. Let's start there. I would probably go back in EQ, but I like how it sounds now, to be honest. Some kick room here. And I'm doing the same thing I did yesterday as far as EQing into Saturn. And also want to filter at the same spot. I just want this to be like the air of the kick, just a tail, basically, after the initial kick hit, so it gets some space and dimension. as I EQ, the volume goes down, so I'm just compensating here. So without EQ, with EQ, and with the kick here, let's see.